Alright everyone, so Manchester United's first match under new manager Ruben Amorim has been completed. They travelled down south to face Ipswich Town at Portman Road. A difficult test, no doubt, and so it proved to be, as we got a 1-1 scoreline. But what were the 5 things that we learned from Amorim's first game in charge of United? Let's dive into the kind of observations that I had from this game. The first thing that I noticed, and there was a lot of talk about this coming into the game, what was the formation going to be? What was the system that Amorim was going to use? Would he go with a 3 at the back like he normally does, or would he go with a 4 at the back to go with what Man United normally play with? This, a system that they already do know, of course, but a system that frankly at times has not been working well. Like most people thought, he went with what he knew. He went with a 3-4-3 formation, 3 centre backs to pick from there, and that also gave us some surprise starters in the forms of Christian Eriksen in midfield, Johnny Evans at centre back, and also Ahmad as well. But the biggest surprise perhaps was the fact that we had Marcus Rashford up front, getting the nod ahead of Josh Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund, who as well to play as that striker. Now, of course, the second thing we learned is that Rashford does suit this system. At least he did prove it in the first 80-90 seconds of the match. But Rashford is a guy that has come under a lot of criticism this season, and also very recently too, in this recent international break. He was spotted ringside, I think it was a New York Knicks game, a basketball match over in America, and he came under a lot of criticism for this, which I don't really understand personally. People, at the end of the day, if you're not performing, that becomes a problem. If you are performing, then it's fine. Go and do it. You can enjoy yourself. Oh, wait, no, you're not playing well. Oh, you can't go enjoy yourself. But he definitely enjoyed getting the opening goal early in this match to open it for Man United, doubling his goal tally for the season in the process. 11 previous appearances in the Premier League this season, only 1 goal to show for it. He managed to get a goal on the first game anyway for Amorim as manager. But the third thing we learned is that Amorim cannot work miracles. He's a good manager. He's a guy who's had a lot of success, but he needs time, and he also can only work with what he's got, essentially. And yeah, after taking the lead, Man United weren't really at the races that much, in fairness, but it was Hutchinson who got the equalising goal for Ipswich Town. A really good strike, to be fair. I mean, people were talking in the build-up to this one about how, Ipswich have got players that can punish you from any part of the pitch. They are winless at home this season, are Ipswich. Of course, their only win this season in the Premier League so far coming away from home at Tottenham Hotspur, who had a very good result this weekend. We'll get into that in my 5 things we learned review from match day 12, but focusing on this specific game here, yeah, you can only do so much at the end of the day. And I would say overall that Man United did look more positive, and the possession's another thing I want to talk about, because particularly in the second half, Man United absolutely dominated the possession. They had over 70% of the ball, and they should have sat partway through it on Sky Sports. I think 70 minutes into the match, the second half possession was 73%, which is a lot. And I know the critics will probably say, well, they didn't do too much with it, and they didn't, to be fair, until late on. They did have a late flurry, did Man United, trying to get the win. If anybody was going to win this game, it was Man United, which did a very good job today, in fairness. But yeah, definitely positive signs. I think an easier opponent at home rather than being away will probably yield a better result for Man United. But yeah, the last thing I want to talk about is Luke Shaw. Positive for sure seeing him back as well. It's been a long time since he's been playing any kind of football. He's a guy who's been almost perpetually injured over the last few seasons. Man United's version of Reece James, unfortunately, and another fullback at that. Or is he a fullback? Well, in this game anyway, he seemed to come on and replace Johnny Evans partway through the second half, and yeah, played basically as a left-sided centre-back, which I think he has done that before, for maybe not for England, but maybe for Man United at some point, but it's not his usual position. He could well be someone who kind of slots in there like that and, makes a real presence at that kind of left centre back, because you wouldn't expect Johnny Evans, with the greatest respect to Johnny Evans, he's a fine defender, he does his best at that position, but he's not someone who can be starting week in, week out in the Premier League. The fact that he plays so much for Man United kind of shows how depleted that squad is, again with the greatest respect to him. So yeah, I would expect to see a lot of Luke Shaw. I would expect to see a lot of Ugarte as well. He came on in the second half. I think he's going to be a player who plays a lot more as well. But yeah, interesting for sure. Not the result that United wanted, of course. The fans were absolutely in full voice as always, though. It does seem very positive. It's something to build on. And if I'm being honest, I think if Ten Hag was still in charge, they would have lost that game. They would have had less of the ball, less chances, and Rashford certainly would not have fired that shot in early in the first half. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the first match of the Amorim era? Let's call it that, the Amorim era in Man United's history. Let's see how long it lasts for, because 2 or 3 seasons probably, going off of how little time the Man United managers usually seem to last. But let's see if this guy's any difference. Let's see if he is, what was he calling himself in the build-up? Obviously it wasn't the special one. Was it the smiling one? I think it was something like the smiling one. Let's see how well the smiling one does at Old Trafford. Give us your thoughts in the comments below, as always, guys. And of course, keep it tuned here to thefootballchronicle.com to see much more content on the world of football just like this.